6G is the next-generation mobile communication technology expected to be commercially available in the early 2030s, succeeding 5G. It is anticipated to bring significant improvements in transmission speed, connectivity, latency, and energy efficiency compared to 5G. The key technological goals of 6G include 1. Ultra-wide bandwidth, 1000 gigabits per second, providing transmission speeds 10 times faster than 5G, enabling services that utilize large amounts of data, such as real-time 8K/16K video streaming, virtual reality, VR, augmented reality, AR, and more. 2. Ultra connectivity, 1000 devices/M2, supporting device connectivity that is 100 times greater than 5G, facilitating the widespread adoption of the Internet of Things, IoT. 3. Ultra-low latency, 0.1 milliseconds, offering latency levels 1/10 of that of 5G, enabling real-time control for services like autonomous driving, remote healthcare, robot control, and other applications that require instant responsiveness. Key technologies for implementing 6G include 1. Utilization of extremely high-frequency bands. 6G is expected to operate in the 0.3 to 3 THz frequency range, much higher than the 30 to 300 GHz range used by 5G. While this can significantly enhance transmission speeds, it comes with the drawback of shorter reach and higher signal loss. 2. Reconfigurable Intelligent Surfaces, RIS. RIS is a technology that uses an array of reflective components to effectively control signal propagation between transmitters and receivers. Utilizing RIS can reduce signal loss and extend reach. 3. Artificial Intelligence, AI. AI is expected to play a crucial role in the efficient design and operation of 6G networks. By leveraging AI, network resource allocation, traffic management, security, and other aspects can be optimized. The commercialization of 6G is still in a speculative stage. However, major countries are intensifying their efforts in 6G research and development, with the expectation that 6G will be widely adopted in the early 2030s. The anticipated frequency range for 6G is 0.3 to 3 THz, falling within the extremely short wavelength region of the electromagnetic spectrum, characterized by short wavelengths and high energy. Consequently, concerns have been raised about the potential impact of these frequencies on the human body. However, as of now, research results regarding the health effects of 6G frequencies are not conclusive. Some studies suggest potential risks such as cell damage, genetic mutations, and increased cancer risks associated with 6G frequencies. Conversely, other research indicates minimal effects on the human body. To assess the health risks of 6G frequencies more comprehensively, long-term and systematic research is essential. Additionally, implementing measures to protect human health during the design and operation of 6G networks is crucial. Here is a summary of research findings on the potential health effects of 6G frequencies. Cell damage. Some studies have reported that 6G frequencies could induce cell damage. For instance, a 2018 study by a research team at Harvard University demonstrated potential damage to the skin cells of mice exposed to 6G frequencies. Genetic mutations. Certain studies suggest that 6G frequencies may induce genetic mutations. For example, a 2020 study by a research team at Uppsala University in Sweden found that 6G frequencies could damage the DNA of cells. Cancer. Concerns have been raised in some studies regarding the potential of 6G frequencies to induce cancer. In a 2022 study, researchers at the University of California presented findings suggesting an increased risk of brain cancer in mice exposed to 6G frequencies. It is important to note that these research results are based on animal experiments, and direct evidence for their applicability to humans is currently lacking. Therefore, a more extensive and systematic investigation is necessary to definitively assess the health impact of 6G frequencies. 6G frequencies are in a higher frequency band compared to microwaves. Microwaves fall within the extremely short wavelength range of the electromagnetic spectrum, with frequencies ranging from 300 MHz to 300 GHz. In contrast, 6G frequencies are expected to operate in the 0.3 to 3 THz range, approximately 10 times higher than microwave frequencies, 300 GHz. The 6G frequency range, falling within the extremely short wavelength region of the electromagnetic spectrum, has the advantage of significantly enhancing transmission speeds. However, it faces the drawback of shorter reach and greater signal loss due to its short wavelength and high energy. To overcome these limitations, 6G networks are expected to employ the following technologies. 1. Reconfigurable Intelligent Surfaces, RIS. RIS is a technology that uses an array of reflective components to effectively control signal propagation between transmitters and receivers. Utilizing RIS can reduce signal loss and extend the reach of the signals. 2. Artificial intelligence, AI. AI is anticipated to play a crucial role in the efficient design and operation of 6G networks. By leveraging AI, network resource allocation, traffic management, security, and other aspects can be optimized. It's important to note that 6G frequencies are lower than infrared frequencies. Infrared falls within the visible light and microwave region of the electromagnetic spectrum, with frequencies ranging from 300 GHz to 400 THz. 6G frequencies, operating in the 0.3 to 3 THz range, are approximately 10 times lower than infrared frequencies, 300 GHz. Therefore, 6G frequencies have longer wavelengths and lower energy compared to infrared. As a result, 6G frequencies are not capable of heating objects or causing burns, similar to the effects of infrared radiation. The expected frequency bands for 6G are as follows. 0.3 to 0.8 THz, millimeter wave, wave, offering fast transmission speeds but with the drawback of short reach and high signal loss. 0.8 to 3 THz, sub-terahertz, sub-THz, providing extremely fast transmission speeds but with even shorter reach and higher signal loss. To address these limitations, 6G networks are expected to utilize technologies such as reconfigurable intelligent surfaces, RIS, and artificial intelligence, AI. Since 6G utilizes higher frequencies than 4G or 5G, it may require denser deployments of relay stations or base stations to maintain clearer video and call quality. The expected frequency range for 6G is 0.3 to 3 THz, falling within the extremely short wavelength region of the electromagnetic spectrum with short wavelengths and high energy. Consequently, while 6G can significantly improve transmission speeds, it faces the drawbacks of shorter reach and higher signal loss. To overcome these limitations, 6G networks are anticipated to deploy more relay stations or base stations compared to 4G or 5G networks. Densely installing these stations reduces the distance between base stations and devices, minimizing signal loss and concentrating the energy of the waves, thus further enhancing transmission speeds. Additionally, 6G networks are expected to leverage artificial intelligence, AI, technology to optimize the placement of relay stations or base stations. AI can analyze device locations and traffic patterns to efficiently deploy relay stations or base stations. There are concerns about potential eavesdropping through relay stations, as these devices relay signals between devices and base stations, potentially allowing interception of communication content. Especially with 6G using higher frequencies than 4G or 5G, the signals have a shorter distance to pass through obstacles like walls, increasing the risk of eavesdropping. However, technologies are being developed to address eavesdropping concerns through relay stations, including encryption, encrypting communication content to prevent eavesdropping. Security protocols, using secure protocols to protect communication between relay stations and devices. Anti-signal interception technology, implementing technology to prevent signal interception by relay stations. These technologies help mitigate the risk of eavesdropping through relay stations. While it's true that having many relay stations raises concerns about potential eavesdropping, technically, intercepting communication through relay stations is challenging. It requires identifying the location of relay stations and installing eavesdropping devices. Therefore, the likelihood of everyday conversations being intercepted is very low. For sensitive conversations, it's advisable to conduct them in locations without relay stations. Additionally, with the commercialization of 6G, efforts in technology development and security reinforcement will be crucial to address potential eavesdropping concerns through relay stations. In mountainous or remote areas where installing numerous relay stations is challenging, utilizing 6G networks may be difficult due to the need for denser deployments to maintain high-quality video and call transmission. In areas with challenging terrain such as mountainous plains and rural regions, where installing relay stations is difficult, the following technologies can be utilized to access 6G networks. Low Earth Orbit LEO satellite communication. LEO satellite communication involves deploying satellites in low Earth orbit to provide communication services. Unlike relay stations, LEO satellite communication offers broader reach, making it suitable for use in mountainous plains and rural areas for 6G network access. Wireless Local Area Network, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi utilizes wireless routers to provide communication services. While the reach of Wi-Fi is shorter than that of relay stations, it is easy to install and cost-effective. Therefore, utilizing Wi-Fi in mountainous plains and rural areas is a practical solution for accessing 6G networks. Additionally, 6G networks are expected to optimize the placement of relay stations or base stations using artificial intelligence, AI. AI can analyze device locations and traffic patterns to efficiently deploy relay stations or base stations. Consequently, with the commercialization of 6G, the accessibility of 6G networks in challenging terrain is anticipated to improve. Furthermore, securing a significant number of low Earth orbit, LEO, satellites, such as those in Starlink, can expand the coverage of 6G services. LEO satellites, positioned at altitudes of approximately 500 to 1,500 kilometers, can cover the entire Earth. Therefore, even in areas where installing relay stations or base stations is challenging, 6G services can be accessed using LEO satellites. Starlink, having launched around 2,000 satellites and planning to launch approximately 12,000 satellites by the end of 2023, offers high-speed internet services and is expected to contribute to the foundational technology of 6G networks. LEO satellites like Starlink are expected to enhance the scalability and stability of 6G networks. Given that 6G networks need to process more data than 4G or 5G networks, scalability is crucial. Additionally, as 6G networks aim to provide ultra-high speed, ultra-low latency, and ultra-connectivity services, stability becomes essential. Therefore, the development of LEO satellites, such as Starlink, is expected to expedite the commercialization of 6G networks and enhance their quality. In South Korea, the activation of private satellite communication projects increases the likelihood of realizing 6G services. Private satellite communication projects have the potential to meet the requirements of 6G networks as they offer scalability and stability. These projects can easily increase the number of satellites as needed and are less vulnerable to natural disasters than ground-based base stations. The South Korean government is actively promoting private satellite communication projects to facilitate the commercialization of 6G networks. The government supports investments in private satellite communication projects and implements policies to ease regulations related to these projects. In summary, private satellite communication projects have the potential to meet the demands of 6G networks, contributing to their scalability and stability. The South Korean government's support for such projects aims to accelerate the commercialization of 6G networks. If the private satellite communication industry is revitalized in South Korea, the country is expected to leap into a leadership position in 6G networks. Specifically, several factors that could contribute to the realization of 6G services through the activation of South Korea's private satellite communication industry include: 1. Government's active support. The South Korean government is actively promoting the activation of private satellite communication projects for the commercialization of 6G networks. The government supports investments in private satellite communication projects and implements policies to ease regulations. Such proactive government support is expected to contribute to the activation of private satellite communication projects. 2. Technological advancements of private companies. South Korean private companies possess world-class competitiveness in satellite technology. In particular, Hanwha Systems has established itself as a leading global company in the field of low Earth orbit satellite communication. The improvement of technological capabilities in these private companies is expected to contribute to the activation of private satellite communication projects. 3. Market growth potential. The global demand for 6G networks is increasing, and South Korea, having accumulated technological expertise and experience through the early commercialization and successful operation of 5G networks, is well positioned to capitalize on the growth potential of the market. This market potential is expected to contribute to the activation of private satellite communication projects. However, there are challenges that need to be addressed for the activation of South Korea's private satellite communication industry. Notable challenges include: 1. High cost of satellite launch. Low Earth orbit satellites, positioned in low Earth orbit, require the use of large rockets for ground launch. The high cost of launching satellites into orbit may hinder the activation of private satellite communication projects. 2. Ensuring satellite stability. Low Earth orbit satellites are susceptible to the influence of Earth's atmosphere, leading to a decrease in altitude or deviation from orbit. Ensuring the stability of satellites is a critical factor for the success of private satellite communication projects. Addressing these challenges would further stimulate the activation of South Korea's private satellite communication industry. Given that South Korea has many remote areas and faces geopolitical tensions with North Korea, low Earth orbit communication satellites strategically become necessary. South Korea's remote areas often face communication challenges due to difficult terrestrial connectivity. low Earth orbit communication satellites can effectively cover these remote areas, unlike ground-based base stations, making them useful for providing communication services. Additionally, South Korea faces geopolitical tensions with North Korea. In such situations, low Earth orbit communication satellites are valuable for establishing military communication networks. These satellites are less vulnerable to enemy attacks compared to ground-based base stations, enhancing the stability of military communication networks. Specifically, several factors make low Earth orbit communication satellites strategically important for South Korea. 1. Communication coverage for remote areas. South Korea, being an island-dotted country, considers providing communication coverage to remote areas a crucial issue. Low Earth orbit communication satellites can effectively cover remote areas, unlike ground-based base stations, making them valuable for communication coverage in these regions. 2. Establishing military communication networks. Given South Korea's military tensions with North Korea, low Earth orbit communication satellites are useful for building military communication networks. These satellites are less vulnerable to enemy attacks than ground-based base stations, thereby increasing the stability of military communication networks. 3. Disaster and emergency response. In cases where ground-based communication networks are damaged due to natural disasters or accidents, low Earth orbit communication satellites prove useful for disaster and emergency response. These satellites are less vulnerable to natural disasters or accidents compared to ground-based base stations, ensuring communication provision in such situations. Therefore, securing low Earth orbit communication satellites through the activation of the private satellite communication industry is strategically advantageous for South Korea.